Hi folks, welcome to this week's Sunday Catechism. Forgive this one being a little bit briefer than usual. I've got my family here from Scotland for the week, which is just lovely. But we're on to the seventh commandment, commandment 70. Question 70. What is the seventh commandment? The seventh commandment is you shall not commit adultery. What is the seventh commandment? The seventh commandment is you shall not commit adultery. Now, I feel this is particularly pertinent. It's funny, I wonder, I was doing this in our back garden, and I know from experience that people around can hear every word that you say, and I don't know if anyone's out in their garden listening to this. But adultery seems such a strange concept in today's world. On the one hand, we have a very sexually promiscuous society where children are largely taught, at least by implication, that sex is an appetite like eating and that you should indulge as you please. And it is about what you please. It's increasingly seen as somewhat strange that someone should have only one sexual partner for the whole of their life. And there are so many other things that are tied in with this as well. And I think this week in particular, I feel this is very appropriate because I felt a great deal of sorrow over the fall of Stephen Lawson. Now, for those who don't know, Stephen Lawson is a fellow of Ligonier. I think he's in his early 70s. He's married with 3 children. And for a period of at least 5 years, fairly recently, he has had what they term an inappropriate relationship with someone in their 20s, young enough to be his daughter. And I think what got me about this more than anything else is the number of times that I've heard Stephen Lawson speak about holiness and following God's commands and so on. And I guess the equivalent would be me talking about this whilst being in the midst of having an affair, which I'm not, by the way. I remember hearing one man who was very strict on some things, preaching a great sermon on husbands and wives, only to discover, he was an elder in my congregation, only to discover a few months later that even while he was preaching that sermon, he was having an affair with one of his work colleagues. And he himself, obviously, was married and had children. So little wonder, Thomas Watson, a couple of quotes from Thomas Watson, he says this: adultery is the reigning sin of the times. They are all adulterers as an oven heated by the baker, Hosea 7 verse 4. The time of King Henry VIII was called the Golden Age, but this may be called the unclean age, wherein whore hunting is common. Ezekiel 24:13, in your filthiness is lewdness. And then Watson makes this tremendous statement: lust's practice is to make a joyful entrance, but she leaves in misery. Lust's practice is to make a joyful entrance, but she leaves in misery. I don't know, I personally don't understand how a preacher, I can understand how people would commit adultery, but I don't know how you could continue with yourself and continue to preach against adultery. It's like in Romans, it says, that you yourself who preach the law, do you break the law? Now, there are many other things that we're going to say about this. We've got 2 more of the questions on this and what it prohibits, what it commands us to do. But I think that in a world which is satiated by desire and lust, that more than ever Christian standards really are required. So that's a kind of background to all of this. May God keep us pure. May God forgive us when we have gone wrong. And those of you who are watching this who know that you've been guilty of adultery, and to be honest, by the standards of Jesus, I suspect almost every one of us, if not all of us, have, then may we, I don't know, may we fight against what's in this world and fight for what Christ wants. There is such a thing as sexual purity, and it can be attained. So God bless you, and see you next week as we reflect more on this. Bye.